Alright, good people, so this is the Corsair 275r. You know, I feel like this frame symbolizes the current state of the case market in that it's affordable. Only an $80 chassis with the glass or $10 less for the acrylic side panel. So I think that's a pretty good price point for not just budget consumers, but you know, this is actually a nice premium chassis too. I feel like it covers many aspects of like what we need to see on an interior of this size. You know, 240 right at the front, the top. You know, the front is not choked, everything is dust proof. It actually looks nice. It comes in two color versions, so white and black. So what exactly is my issue here? Well, let me tell you right after this. The new Enermax Lick Fusion is their first addressable RGB all-in-one cooler with a standard 240mm rad and absolutely beautiful RGB ring illumination on the fans and the pump to highlight that unique flow indicator through the transparent top. Check out the Lick Fusion down below. Whew. Alright, so before I tell you why I'm upset with the Corsair Carbide 275r, let me first tell you why it's one of the best in its class. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but you'll understand why later. So physically, it's nothing too exciting. I think we've almost settled to like a very simple looking chassis for this price point, but the front panel has this like brush texture to it and a nice discreet Corsair logo at the front. So it's not like a loud Corsair case, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate that there is no color variation on the exterior. So the white on the plastic and the metal and even the dust filter all look uniform to me. So there is no discrepancy between the materials and how they look with that paint job. The glass panel is flush against the frame, so it doesn't stick out, which is awesome, but there is a bit of like that stark contrast between my white edition and the black perimeter on the TG panel. And you also notice these screws. They're not thumb screws and they're quite flat, so they contribute to the better aesthetics of the case, but they're not exactly easy to work with. The thumb screws on the rear side panel are captive, so that's appreciated. There's a large dust filter spanning the entire top of the chassis. It is magnetic and easily removable, and the front also has a nice large dust filter spanning the entire intake section. Now, as you can see, the front panel is completely closed from the front, so the only intake are from the sides. Luckily, they're quite open, but still don't expect amazing airflow because there is a little bit of restriction going on. And the I/O is quite simple with only two USB 3s, Chrome audio jacks, power, and reset button. In terms of airflow, I really like what Corsair is doing here. So the front can support a 360 radiator or 280 rad with their respective fans, and up top we can have a 240 radiator, or you can see there's also holes for a single 140mm fan. Not exactly sure why that is offset to the front, but it's there regardless. And moving on to the inside, there's a lot to like here. So first, two fans are included. That's nice for stock configuration for air cooling. There is a nice 2.5-inch cutout at the front for your radiator and fan combo. There's a nice cutout above the power supply ventilation to pass your I/O cables like an audio cable. The rubber grommets are well spaced out internally. The motherboard standoffs are pre-installed, not just for your middle one, but for all ATX standoffs, which is awesome. So you can begin assembly right away. And I really appreciate how the front I/O cables are routed through the top, nice discreet, so they don't interfere with a potential radiator or fans if you decide to install them at the top position. And coming to the back, we have plenty of storage options. So first, there are two SSD caddies with nice captive thumb screws. That's always appreciated. There is a hard drive cage in the power supply chamber with two drive caddies, and it is removable if you require a little bit more room for the power supply. And additionally, we have two SSD mounts facing each other near the front with a nice cutout protrusion in the center so that the SATA cables don't interfere. And whoever designed cable management here, I want to give them a hug because there are so many cable type points all over the place. So trying to like cleanly secure everything to the back will not be an issue, and we even have plenty of them where you route your 8-pin CPU cable at the back of the case. Now you may be wondering what's there not to like about this almost perfect case, right? On the interior it seems nice feature set wise, and cable management at the back with plenty of storage. You know, it looks fine too for 80 bucks. So what is the issue? The tempered glass mount. I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous, but let me show you how you attach or remove that glass panel. So first, remember these flat screws, they're better for visuals, but look at this. You require an Allen key, which is included, by the way, in order to remove them. So that's the first inconvenient point. The second one is you can see these rubber bits. so they're not actually attached to the side panel. So that means that they will fall out the second you take out the side panel, and you will definitely lose these unless you're super careful and know about this based on this review. And the third thing is, there are actually no pegs on the frame in order to hold the side panel. And on top of that, or the bottom of that, there's actually nothing in the bottom of the frame to support the side panel when you go in and install it. So you have to kind of hold it in place, screw one, and then struggle with the other three corners. Another annoying thing with the glass panel is that the perimeter here, the blackout stuff, is even on all sides, but the actual panel is not square. So when you go to actually install the panel, you have to make sure that you are inserting it in the correct orientation. Otherwise, it may look like it will fit, but it won't. And I've already lost 3 of the rubber pegs on the corners. And this is by far the worst tempered glass mount that Corsair could have implemented on their chassis. You know, it's $80, so I know it's not exactly super premium, but it's not even budget territory either. This compromise of not including tiny little pegs on the actual frame to hold the glass mount is a bit ridiculous. And I know from the bigger picture, this case is actually quite nice, and we'll do a build in it just in a little bit, but it symbolizes where the case industry is at. You know, there's always these little features that kind of make the case really good, and then there's this one little thing that somehow is not yet fixed, but has been fixed on other previous cases from like 2 years ago. So how does that get to a point of where we are today? And this is not just with 275R. This is on every single case release that goes out today, where we expect perfection, but we get just tiny bit below that, and it's quite frustrating. Alright, so the build is finished. Man, what an enjoyable experience that was, from fitting all of my components in to doing cable management, and I am already dreading fitting that side panel back on. Let me show you around. So first, the 360 all-in-one H150i fit in no problem. There are no alignment issues. It fits in within the cutout, so it's perfect for this configuration. Underneath the motherboard, all the cables are well routed. These cutouts are nicely positioned beside the power supply there, and this one on the shroud. All the cable tie points around the motherboard are actually very well laid out, even at the top. So whoever designed this cable management is a genius. And look at this, my PCI cable for the graphics card, because of the cable tie points, I was able to just kind of like secure it to the case, and this PCI cable is now almost hidden. Now I think the highlight for the build for me would be this new memory that we got from Team Group. It's called the Nighthawk. So it's slightly faster than what I have on G.Skill. It's won some Computex awards. It's got lifetime warranty, so that's always appreciated. It's Aura compatible, so I can sync it to the RGB illumination on my Asus motherboard. And just check out this beautiful illumination on both sides, giving us nice spill, and this really cool laser-like effect with the lighting, like really cool, giving my motherboard area a little bit more spice that it deserves. And if you guys are interested in Team Group Nighthawk memory, check it out in the description below. So here you'll have plenty of options to route your cables any way you want, and I've kind of concentrated them around these two main rubber grommets, and I did not extend them into this SSD area, just so that you can see how you would potentially populate the SSDs in that spot without interfering with your primary cables that are coming from the power supply. So very nice, clean job, super quick to do. I think this took me like 10 minutes to complete. And the last thing to do is some temperatures. The 360 cooler is very powerful, but I want to see how much cooler we can get without the front panel, and to see if there's a big difference. And I'm also going to leave a timer on the screen so you can see how long it takes me to actually put the side panel back on. Let's go. Corsair, this is not a good design. Also, I don't know if this was intentional, but the Allen key fits right in the top panel because it has a bit of a protrusion. And so this is where you can store the Allen key when you need to access your case in the future. Also at the front of the case, you can see there's a bit of illumination. Now the thing is, it's a nice approach because it's a simple white LED and non-RGB. However, they are quite harsh. You can clearly see the 3 distinct LEDs, so on any reflective surface, they will be clearly visible and actually quite distracting. All right, so the final thing are temperatures. With the front panel removed, we dropped 5 degrees Celsius, and the fans, the front 3 fans, were running at 200 RPM slower, so we, gained a little bit extra cooling, and the system was a tiny bit quieter. The GPU in this test was not affected. It was running at 83 degrees Celsius with the panel on or off. So this 5-degree difference, it could be lower just to eliminate that whole restriction on people complaining about airflow, but it also could be substantially higher as what we've seen from other cases that have a completely choked front intake. And I'm gonna stick to my point to say that this case symbolizes the current case industry and that it's affordable, it's got TG, it's full of features. This is actually one of the best cable management in its class for the mid tower. The front airflow is slightly choked, but it's not super starving for air. But it has one single flaw with that TG mount, and I don't understand it because Corsair's previous glass mounts have not been that bad. In fact, they've been just standard with thumb screws and little pegs that actually mount the glass first. So I have no idea why we have this on the 275R. And it was this close to getting in the word, but you guys know how I feel about that mount, and I'm all about the user experience too. So, it delivers on all that except for actually when you go in to close the case. All right, guys, so that's all for me on the 275R. Let me know what you think, and do you agree with me about, the case industry as a whole and how this kind of symbolizes where we are at today with it. I'm Dmitry, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.